If you're incorporated, should you also be using your TFSA? Well, if you're not, you could accidentally be screwing over your future retired self. So many physicians are told, keep your money in the corporation. The tax deferral is your biggest advantage. And I understand where that advice is coming from, but as you'll see, it's actually short-sighted. Even though your annual TFSA contribution room is probably about 1/5 of your RRSP contribution room, most of my clients are shocked when they see that it's actually the TFSA that is going to dominate your investment assets in retirement. Here's a few anonymous samples. The TFSA is the yellow bar here. It starts off tiny relative to the other assets and ends up worth over $4 million in this example. Here it's worth 11 million by age 95. And in this one, even though the TFSA is a bit smaller, all of the financial assets after age 75 are in the TFSA. The TFSA's flexibility and power of tax-free compounding should not be underestimated. When I work with clients to optimize their financial plans, it often becomes the dominant retirement account. And here's why. This is Dr. Alex again. He's incorporated and he's being told, keep your money in the corporation so that you don't have to pay as much personal tax now. The rationale behind this statement is that to fund a TFSA, Alex has to pay personal tax today to get that money out of his corporation. Whereas if the money stayed in his corporation, those taxes could be deferred. That's true, it makes sense, but only if you're looking a few years ahead. Fortunately, analysts like Jamie Gollenbeck from CIBC and Ben Felix from PWL Capital have done the analysis for us. And they've shown that if you have a time horizon of at least 10 to 20 years, that upfront tax hit is often actually a really smart move. So let's look at the concrete numbers from CIBC's 2022 analysis. To get $6,000 into a TFSA in Ontario in that year, Alex's corporation would have needed to earn about $13,076 of small business income. After the corporate tax is taken off that, Alex is left with about $11,481. To get that into his TFSA, Alex pays a non-eligible dividend, shells out about $5,481 in personal tax, and then is left with exactly $6,000 to invest personally in his TFSA. So at first glance, that feels like Alex is losing. He's starting with $6,000 in his TFSA instead of nearly $11,500 in his corporation. But this is exactly where the corporate tax drag starts to hurt him. Inside the corporation, investment income is taxed at a high passive rate, around 50%. Even with tax refunds later, that drag stunts the compounding of those investments. In CIBC's 30-year projection for interest income of 5% per year, the TFSA balance ended up at $19,900 in tax-free money. The corporation, only $10,600 after all taxes are paid. That's a massive gap. What if that 5% was all Canadian dividends, which actually have some tax advantages in a corporation? Well, the corporation does perform slightly better here at first, but the TFSA still wins in the long run. After about 16 years, the TFSA pulls ahead, and by year 30, it's significantly more valuable. Ben Felix's research at PWL Capital echoes this. Once you factor in the high cost of corporate passive tax, eventually the tax-free nature of the TFSA beats the tax-deferred nature of the corporation for almost any balanced portfolio. Now, for shorter time frames, say under 20 years, I'd always recommend running the projections, but given how dominant TFSAs will become for most people, it's really rare for me to see a situation, particularly for early and mid-career physicians, which is my focus, where the actual time frame is that short. But math isn't actually the only reason to choose the TFSA. There are three more. Number one, tax risk. Corporations are constant targets for tax reform. We saw it in 2018 and again with the 2024 capital gains changes. The TFSA, on the other hand, is politically much safer and out of the CRA's reach. Number two, preservation of your old age security benefit in retirement. Corporate withdrawals are taxable income that can trigger OAS clawbacks. TFSA withdrawals, on the other hand, won't affect those benefits at all. And then lastly, estate planning concerns. When you pass away, a corporation is kind of a tax nightmare for your heirs. A TFSA, on the other hand, flows to them immediately and tax-free. It's really the cleanest asset that we can leave behind. So if you have a 10 to 20 year time horizon, which most of us actually do, the tax cost of an extra dividend today is actually a small price to pay for the tax-free compounding you get within the TFSA. So if you have unused room, don't let it sit there just because you're afraid of a little bit more income tax now. Get the money out of the corporation, fill up your TFSA, and let it grow. Believe me, your future self and your heirs will thank you.